if you miss a step, expect to be,
Were you ever abused?
No,
Did you ever see abuse?
no.
So this had to shock you.
Yeah, it was very surprising.
Michael asks you, would you cry if Joseph died? What did Michael say after he asked you that question?
He said he don't know if he would or he wouldn't.
Michael Jackson's brothers and sisters spent decades protecting one story, the story of what really happened inside that tiny house in Gary, Indiana. And now, one by one, they are finally answering the questions the family always deflected.
Gary, Indiana, our house was the size of a 2-car garage.
2300 Jackson Street, in that little house. I was born in that house, the only one born in that house.
Was their father the man the world was told he was? Why did Michael say he never had a childhood when his siblings remember laughter in every room? And what did the youngest, quickest, most gifted boy in the house ask Jermaine? A question so heavy that Jermaine still weighs his answer? You are about to understand why they waited this long. The house on Jackson Street. To understand what happened to Michael Jackson, you have to start where his brothers start. Not with the fame, not with the headlines. With a house, 2300 Jackson Street, Gary, Indiana, right on the corner.
2300 Jackson Street, right on the corner. This little 2-bedroom house with 9 kids.
The brothers repeat that address like a chant because it is burned into them. It was a 2-bedroom house roughly the size of a 2-car garage, and inside it lived a family with 9 children. Tito was the only one actually born inside those walls, and he says it with something close to pride. Do the arithmetic, 9 kids, 2 bedrooms. The boys slept stacked in triple bunk beds, one deck on top of another. Tito shared a mattress with Jermaine, a fact his brothers still tease him about. Marlon and Michael slept together. Jackie, the oldest, had a bed to himself because Randy had not been born yet, and the brothers joked that Jackie somehow claimed all the showers too. The girls did not even get a bedroom. Rebby, Latoya, and eventually Janet slept in the living room on a couch that folded out into a bed. And Latoya remembers baby Janet sleeping literally on her stomach. You would expect them to call that house suffocating. They do the opposite. They call it beautiful. They insist it was a beautiful setting, full of love, and that the crowding bonded them together every single day. Here is what catches you off guard. They did not think of themselves as poor. In their corner of Gary, that was simply the way of life. They had food, they had clothes. They went to school like every other kid on the block. Poverty is only visible when you have something to compare it to, and they did not. The moment their father left for work at 6 in the morning and their mother stepped out around 8, the furniture got pushed to the walls.
We slept in the living room, the girls did. And we had a couch that led out into a bed, and we shared the bed. Janet used to sleep literally on my stomach.
Jackie would pop popcorn, sit down like a king, and make Tito and Jermaine wrestle for his entertainment. It was chaos, it was crowded, and to hear them tell it, it was happiness. For a while. Rhythm in the walls. Here is where the story starts turning. When Michael was born, his siblings say he was like any other kid, with one difference that grew louder every year. He was relentlessly mischievous, rambunctious, full of a strange, crackling energy. His mother would pull the washing machine into the middle of the floor, and the machine would rattle out this rhythmic mechanical beat. And there was Michael, still in his diaper, still sucking a bottle, standing beside it and shaking to the rhythm. Catherine watched him and said the words that now sound like prophecy. He has rhythm. He was also the family clown. If the mood in the house dropped, Michael would march into the kitchen, bug his eyes out, pull a ridiculous face, do anything for a laugh. His siblings remember him as carefree, happy-go-lucky, a bundle of joy. Hold on to that image because it does not last. If this is the side of the Jackson story you came for, the version told by the people who actually lived inside that house, hit subscribe, because the second half of this story is the part the family waited decades to say out loud. Catherine was a gifted singer, and she filled that tiny house with country songs while she washed dishes. The kids would dry the plates and drift into harmony around her, one voice stacking on another. Then the television broke, and the family could not afford to fix it right away. So, the singing became the entertainment. Every time she sang, they sang. In a house too small for privacy, music became the room they all shared, and then came the guitar. Tito had been sneaking into the closet to play his father's guitar in secret until the day a string snapped. Joseph came home, saw the damage, and demanded to know who had touched it. Tito confessed, and instead of the explosion everyone braced for, Joseph said something unexpected. "Show me what you know how to do." Tito played. The brothers started singing, and in that instant, in a 2-bedroom house in Gary, Indiana, everything that would follow was set in motion. The little one. From that day forward, Joseph Jackson made a decision that tells you everything about him. Money that was supposed to repair the house went into instruments and equipment instead. The brothers rehearsed, performed little shows around town, and neighborhood kids would crowd around the windows of the house just to watch them practice. That was their first audience, faces pressed against glass. But Michael was not in the group. His brothers told him flat out that he was too young, and Michael wanted in.
He used to always make funny faces. If everybody was down or whatever, he'd walk in the kitchen and buck his eyes or whatever and do something really crazy to make you laugh.
Then came the day that changed the family forever. Michael, still in kindergarten, stood up at a school performance and sang "Climb Every Mountain." His brothers were in the audience, and they described their own reaction in almost disbelieving terms. Their mouths fell open. They could not believe the voice coming out of that tiny body belonged to their little brother. They rushed him home and told him what he had been begging to hear. "You are in the group." At first, Michael only played percussion, tapping away on bongos while Jermaine sang lead. Jermaine was the man, and then, gradually, something started happening that nobody could stop. Michael began studying James Brown, Joe Tex, Sammy Davis Jr., Jackie Wilson. He could watch a performer do something once and then simply do it, and then, this is the detail his brothers keep circling back to, he would add something extra, a twist nobody taught him, something that caught you off guard. Jermaine, the displaced lead singer, remembers watching this little peanut-headed kid spin and slide and thinking, wait a minute. The brothers noticed the gap opening up between Michael and everyone else, and to their credit, they admit it plainly. Marlon was a great dancer. The others had real talent, but Michael had all of it at once. The voice, the feet, the instinct for melody, the ability to take any song and knock it out of the park. Tito says he used to look at Michael sideways and wonder how a 3 or 4-year-old could sing perfect harmony on command. Was anybody jealous? They knew they had one of the biggest stars in the world riding in their van. The only question was what it would cost to carry that star out of Gary. Rehearsed and rehearsed. Ask the brothers who was responsible for all of it, and they do not hesitate for a second. Joseph. He rehearsed them and rehearsed them and rehearsed them. The brothers repeat the word like a drumbeat, because that is what their childhood sounded like. Joseph saw something in his sons that they could not yet see in themselves, and he decided the way out of Gary, Indiana ran directly through their talent. He wanted every one of his kids successful, and he was willing to grind them into shape to get there. But that discipline had edges. The siblings describe a home that was sheltered, protective, and strict to a degree most kids today could not imagine. They were rarely allowed to sleep over at other kids' houses because Joseph could not control what happened under someone else's roof. They never touched drugs, and they credit that to him. But they also admit they never really got to see the outside world, and it went further. There were whippings, there were chores stacked on responsibilities stacked on rules.
He spent most of his childhood perfecting his talent. He never got a chance to own a bicycle or ride a bicycle or play Little League or tag or whatever kids do.
Jackie, as the oldest, says he caught the worst of it, because whenever the younger kids got in trouble, Joseph came down on him. By the time Michael, Marlon, Randy, and Janet came along, the brothers say their father had simply grown tired. Even fame did not loosen the grip. After shows, with screaming fans filling the streets outside, Joseph marched his sons straight to their hotel rooms and posted security at the elevators and exits. At midnight came bed check. Guards looked under the beds, in the closets, behind the curtains. Jackie was still living at home at 25, still asking permission to go out at night. The question. Here is where the family finally goes to the place they avoided for decades. the part of the story nobody rushed to tell. Michael said publicly over and over that he never had a childhood. His siblings do not deny it. One of them calls it sad and admits it is a catch-22 because working from the age of 7 simply erases the ordinary things. Michael had 2 or 3 school friends, and that was it. No scouts, no little league, no gymnastics, no soccer, no bicycle rides. On the road, he never brought a friend along. His brothers and sisters became his best friends because they were the only people allowed close enough. Randy, the youngest brother, offers the other side. He says he had the most normal childhood of them all, that making music was more fun than baseball ever could have been, and that he does not feel he missed a thing. But even he circles back to Michael, saying Michael spent his adulthood trying to reclaim the childhood he lost, being a kid whenever and however he wanted. The siblings acknowledge Michael's fear was real. As the youngest boy, he watched his older brothers get spanked, and it frightened him. He was so quick they could rarely catch him. When their mother wanted to chastise him, he would dive under the bed and cling to the springs, and the brothers could not drag him out. Michael himself said there were times he was so afraid of his father that he would throw up. And then there is the moment that stops everything. In one interview, a question was raised that Michael had once put to Jermaine. Would you cry if Joseph died? And Jermaine's answer, relayed with painful honesty, was that Michael said he did not know if he would or he wouldn't. Sit with that. A son, unsure whether he would cry at his own father's funeral. Discipline or abuse? So the question lands on the table, and the interviewer asks it directly. Were you ever abused? Did you ever see abuse? And the siblings answer, no. Firmly, repeatedly. They say Michael's own description of his childhood surprised them, even shocked them. LaToya says she was haunted by his screams the first time Joseph struck him. Marlon insists there was a strap, yes, and there were consequences when they did something wrong, but that this was discipline, not abuse, the same discipline nearly every family they knew practiced at the time. Jermaine argues that some siblings simply held on to the spankings longer than others, carried them differently, and interpreted the same house through different eyes. Tito puts it bluntly. Every family member has their own interpretation of how they were raised. They also push back hard against the portrait painted of their father in the American Dream miniseries, saying it made Joseph look like a villain he never was. In their telling, Joseph was a man watching 6 boys grow up in a rough corner of Gary, where, as Jermaine points out, most of his childhood friends ended up dead or in prison. Joseph bought them instruments with repair money. He drilled them until Motown finally looked their way. He taught them that a man is only as good as his handshake and his word. Marlon says he does not see it as tough. He sees it as necessary. And yet, the contradiction never fully closes. The same brothers who defend Joseph also remember Michael saying he never wanted any child to grow up the way he did, that he missed out, that he wished he had been able to just play. 2 things can be true inside one small house. A father can save his sons from the streets and still leave a wound in the one who flew highest. The siblings have finally said their piece, and now the question belongs to you. Was Joseph Jackson a father doing what was necessary? Or did the price Michael paid tell its own story? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you want more of the real stories behind Michael Jackson's life and career, told by the people who were actually there, subscribe so you never miss the next one.